All right, Bismillah. So today we want to talk about some of the signs of sins on earth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us some good clues about when things are not going the way they should be. An example is in Surah Al-Rum, where he says, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. Corruption has manifested itself on earth and in al-bahr. Bahr could be oceans and seas. It could also be rivers. بما كسبت أيدي الناس, by what the hands of people has earned and has, brought to the planet, whether it's fighting, abuse, um, just not taking care of the planet, being greedy and aggressive. I was watching this video about 2 months ago. It's a video about the water quality in, I think, the Philippines. I can't remember which country, but I think it was the Philippines. And they have some beautiful rivers, but they're most polluted in the world. They're so polluted to the point, if a child just puts their body in the river, they get sick like within 24 hours, and they can die within 6 months or so. And in this country, rivers were so polluted in the 70s. I remember when I was a child and we lived in Chicago. If you walked by Lake Michigan, you'd see all the dead fish by the shore, extending probably a good 10 feet from the water edge all the way inland. Just, stacks and stacks of dead fish, probably like, 2, 3 inches deep, just that whole shore. And because there was not enough oxygen in the lake, because they were dumping pollutants and all the manufacturing facilities and factories and so forth around Chicago area would just dump their waste in the water, or they would dump liquids that are hot, and it changes the temperature of the water, and the fish starts to suffocate and die and so forth. Also at that time, rivers like the Ohio River and other, relatively large rivers, the Susquehanna River here in Maryland, were so poisonous that if a person would eat a fish from just one fish from any of those rivers, that person would die within 6 months of cancer. That's how bad it was. So those are signs of evil on earth. Mankind being so greedy to accumulate money, right? So why the rivers in the Philippines or that Southeastern Asian country so polluted? Because the large manufacturers of the world, without mentioning names of companies, but those greedy corporate entities just don't care about people's health. They don't care about the quality of water, quality of life, and they just want to produce their goods, and they dump the waste of the water in these waterways because that's the only place they can, uh, send it, and that causes people who live across those areas to get sick and so forth. So that's a physical manifestation of corruption. And we know that our deen promotes caring for the earth. It promotes taking care of the provisions and the bounties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. But there are other forms of corruption, such as abuse of power. And we see that nations are appointed leaders who are corrupt. They take advantage of their people. They're greedy with wealth. They raise the taxes, or they rob people from their money. They don't spend on the country. They don't take care of healthcare, education. They fail the youth. They fail the seniors. I mean, we've heard in this country, quote unquote, the civilized nation of the world, right? The governor of Texas, he's saying we can probably let go of some seniors uh, in return to keep the economy open. That's the mindset of some of these leaders, is that we'll sacrifice the weak, we'll sacrifice the elder, we'll sacrifice the poor, we'll sacrifice the children, we'll sacrifice, those who don't make enough money, or those who are not important to society. We'll sacrifice and kill all these people so we can survive and make more money and be more greedy and more wealthy and keep the economy running, and so on. That's another form of corruption, right? Where these leaders have failed their communities, have failed their followers. We see other signs of corruption where they use women as an embodiment of attraction to sell goods, to attract attention to certain services, where they promote evil through, accumulating again wealth in different forms and of abuse and disrespect and so forth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that corruption has become so prevalent and has become clear, ظهر, it's become clear to people on earth and in the water, wherever that water is, because of what? Because of what their own hands has done. And when this corruption occurs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it as a way for them لِيُذِيقُهُمْ بَعْضَ الَّذِي عَمِلُوا, so they can taste some of what they have done, some of the mischief that they have done. So as if he's telling us, you're going to corrupt the planet, and as a result, things won't work out, and then I'm going to make you taste some of your own doings in the form of sickness or pain or poverty or difficulty or whatever form, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ, so that you can wake up and go back to the right path. And before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam, he gave the angels some idea about what's going to happen on the planet. So they questioned, they said, "Oh Allah, are you going to create a creature that causes mischief and bloodshed on a planet? And we're worshiping you, we're praising you." The angels, they just obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have no choice to do anything other than that. They constantly praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They constantly worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they're questioning, why, Allah, are you creating a creature that's going to cause bloodshed and mischief? And we look around, we see like World War I and II, millions of people are killed and bombed. Look at Hiroshima and Japan and what happened, during that war. I mean, entire towns and cities are demolished by a bomb, right? Look at Bosnia and Serbia. Look at Rohingya. Look at China. I mean, the list goes on. It's nothing but bloodshed and mischief. Look at Baltimore City, right? Look at those young people who have unlawful relationships with a girlfriend at school or someone in their neighborhood, and then they're 16, they're 18, 2 3 years later they're nowhere to be found. And now you have a mother with 2 3 kids. She's trying to survive, to take care of them, and as they grow up, it's the streets that raise these kids, right? You end up with teenagers who have no parents, no fathers. They're running around the city. They don't have good role models to look up to, and what results is you have a city with shootings every night, with people being killed every night, right? Look at we talked yesterday about school shootings. I mean, it's insane. You have schools where shootings go on, by the dozen. People are killed every year. There's at least that big mass shooting where there's a dozen or two who get killed, plus the mental impact and mental health impact on dozens more of kids, right? That's besides the small shootings. There's one or two people shot here and there. So these are signs for us so that we recognize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, hey, you're going too far. And how do we combat that? That's where I want, inshallah, you guys to get involved here, inshallah, and give me or share with each other some ideas. What can we do to stop this facade, or to make a change? So inshallah, if you want to unmute yourself and maybe just share one or two quick points before we wrap it up.
So I think what we are doing now is a good example of helping to change this. So whatever good deed anybody in the world is trying to do, whether it is religious or for humankind, or really raising, helping to change the mentality of people to look more into good things, all this is helping to change what we are in right now.
Jazakumullah khairan, Sister Iman. Absolutely. So getting up in the morning, just praying on time in itself is step number one. And then taking that further, like the sister's saying, getting on these calls and contributing, not just getting because, we need to be here, but because you truly believe that's a way to change, right? So these baby steps make big impacts. Other thoughts by anyone? So how, what are you doing now every day to change this corruption, to, to, to kind of play a role in bringing justice back to the planet?
Well, my mindset's always like it's your actions. So kind of what I teach my students, I love to focus on all the like social emotional components of things, just teaching them to be more compassionate towards each other and forgiving and loving. So I read a lot of books about that, and like we have discussions about it in class meetings, and just kind of teaching them what it means to be a community and to grow together. And even when you disagree with others, that doesn't mean that you have the right to be disrespectful towards them. And I think just instilling that in them when they're young kind of manifests as they grow.
MashaAllah, that's great. Absolutely, we're human beings with brains, right? We're human beings, as Allah told the angels, "Inni a'lamu ma la ta'lamun." I know, angels, what you don't know. And then the next ayah says what? وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Then he taught Adam all the names, because we're creatures of intellect, we're creatures of thinking and pondering and reflection. So one of the things we failed our youth in this country and many other nations that are secular is we treated young people as if they're machines. Just learn math, learn science, learn English, 1 + 1 = 2, but there's no emotions connected to it. There's no, that spiritual side is completely absent. And as a result, by the time these people turn 16, 17, 18, they're stressed out, because part of their life is missing, which is that emotion and community, being part of a community, and all these leadership values, having a purpose, having a vision. It's amazing how many young people in high school have no purpose in life. They have no idea what they want to do in 2 3 years. They're just completely disconnected from that thought. So that's beautiful that you're doing that. That's what we're missing, which is this tarbiyah, or development, teaching people these soft skills. And today employers are recognizing that this is something that's missing in the workplace, and they're trying to train their adults on it. All right, how about you, Zafar? We'll close with two more people. What are you doing to combat this corruption and fitna that's on earth?
Personally, I think that raising awareness is probably the biggest thing, and sort of convincing people to acknowledge your side and your opinion and your view on this issue is really important, because only when there's like sort of like a unity of ideas and ideologies will people be able to mobilize in numbers and do something.
So how are you doing that?
So like, I guess in terms of social media, so like posting things that would raise awareness about certain issues, whether it's like the persecution against Muslims or whatever, it's like the homelessness crisis in Baltimore right now.
Great. So definitely awareness is so important. Like Sister Iman said earlier, she's starting to see people in her community or her social circles now understand this whole pandemic better, right? And even within Ilya, we're seeing changes as well. But also, you're bringing in new interns into the organization, right? Why? So they can help solve problems here that we're dealing with, so that again you can share that mission, you can empower more youth, you can get that word out as you were sharing. So that's great. Jazakallah khairan. And let's take one more person. Anyone else wants to share what they're doing to combat corruption on the planet?
Recycling.
Recycling. All right, tell us how. Tell us more.
Recycle a lot of things, and it's good for the environment.
Yep, absolutely. So it helps, preserve resources, and um, it even provides opportunities for employment for other people, right? When all this recyclable waste goes to a plant that people can actually sort out and take and reuse and refurbish sometimes, or put into different supply chain, right? It creates new opportunities for growth and employment, and protects the planet and protects the animals, and so forth. All right, jazakumullah khairan, everyone. So, quick little thought here, and inshallah, I'll turn it over to Bahat for our daily Scrum call.